Imagine stepping onto the biggest stage in sports entertainment at an age when most athletes have long since retired. The body is no longer what it once was. The aches last longer. Recovery takes more time. And yet, the spotlight still calls. WrestleMania is not just an event, it is a moment frozen in history. It is where careers are defined, legends are immortalized, and memories are created that last a lifetime. For most wrestlers, even appearing at WrestleMania once is the achievement of a career. But for a rare and remarkable group, WrestleMania became something even more powerful later in life. These were not the fastest performers, they were not the strongest, but they were among the bravest. Today, we explore one of the most inspiring and emotional chapters in WrestleMania history, the oldest wrestlers to ever compete on the grandest stage of them all. These individuals defied age, expectations, and physical limitations. They proved that wrestling is not just about youth, it is about heart, storytelling, and legacy. Their matches were not about titles, they were not about dominance, they were about showing up. Why age at WrestleMania matters. Professional wrestling is unlike any other sport. It demands physical punishment, emotional performance, and the ability to connect with millions of fans at once. Every fall hurts more with age. Every movement carries risk. And yet, WrestleMania does not slow down for anyone. To compete at WrestleMania later in life means accepting vulnerability. It means knowing you cannot move the way you once did, but walking into the ring anyway. That is what makes these moments unforgettable. Let us begin. 1. Vince McMahon, the chairman who took the bumps. Vince McMahon is best known as the mastermind behind WWE's global empire, but what many forget is that Vince was never content to remain safely behind the scenes. Competing at WrestleMania at an age when most executives would never dream of entering a wrestling ring, Vince McMahon shocked the world. His matches were not technical masterpieces, they were chaotic, emotional, and sometimes uncomfortable to watch because they felt real. Watching Vince take bumps, bleed, and put his body on the line was surreal. This was not a wrestler who needed the spotlight. This was a man who chose to step into it. His WrestleMania appearances proved one thing clearly. Vince McMahon did not just promote wrestling, he lived it. 2. Ric Flair, greatness that refused to fade. Ric Flair is wrestling royalty, a name spoken with reverence across generations. By the time he competed at WrestleMania later in life, his body had already been through decades of war. Flair was no longer the fastest man in the ring. He could not rely on pure athleticism. Instead, he leaned into something far more powerful: experience. Every chop echoed history. Every strut reminded fans of who he was. Every reaction from the crowd felt earned. Ric Flair did not need to prove anything. His presence alone turned his WrestleMania appearance into a celebration of professional wrestling itself. It was not about one last match. It was about honoring a lifetime. 3. Hulk Hogan, the icon who brought an era back to life. Hulk Hogan was never just a wrestler. He was a movement, a cultural phenomenon. When Hogan returned to WrestleMania later in his career, the reaction was instant and overwhelming. Fans were not watching a man compete, they were reliving their childhoods. His movements were slower, his style simpler, but none of that mattered. The moment his music hit, the crowd erupted. That connection between Hogan and the audience was something age could not erase. Hogan's WrestleMania return proved that charisma does not fade, it evolves. 4. Shawn Michaels, the perfect farewell at the perfect time. Shawn Michaels' later WrestleMania appearance stands as one of the most emotionally respected moments in wrestling history. After years away, Michaels returned at an age when most careers are long over. There was no pressure to outperform his past, no need to chase glory. Instead, he delivered something far more meaningful, a performance rooted in respect for the craft. Every move was deliberate, Every moment had purpose. This was not Shawn Michaels trying to relive his prime. This was Shawn Michaels honoring it. Number 5. The Undertaker, WrestleMania's living myth. No wrestler in history is more closely tied to WrestleMania than The Undertaker. As the years passed, each appearance felt heavier, more symbolic. The entrances became longer, the movements slower, but the aura untouchable. Later in life, Undertaker's WrestleMania matches were no longer about domination. They were about atmosphere, storytelling, and legacy. Watching him walk to the ring felt like watching history itself move, a living monument, a final guardian of an era. Even as age caught up with him, WrestleMania never felt complete without The Undertaker. 6. Triple H, the warrior who refused to let go. Triple H's later WrestleMania appearances came at a time when he was already deeply involved behind the scenes as an executive. Yet, when he returned to competition, it was never casual. His matches were slower, more physical, and emotionally driven. You could feel the years in every movement, but also the pride. Triple H did not return because he needed to. He returned because WrestleMania mattered to him, and that made all the difference. 7. Jerry the King Lawler, a bridge between generations. By the time Jerry Lawler competed at WrestleMania later in life, many fans knew him primarily as a commentator, but stepping back into the ring reminded the world of his roots. Lawler relied on timing, psychology, and awareness, not athletic explosiveness. His presence felt like a bridge connecting old-school wrestling to the modern era. It was not about stealing the spotlight, it was about reminding fans where wrestling came from. 8. Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe, legends behind the curtain. Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe were never meant to be WrestleMania competitors late in life, and that is exactly why their appearances were so special. Known primarily for their backstage influence, seeing them step into the ring was unexpected and oddly emotional. Their matches leaned into humor and character, but beneath that was deep respect for wrestling's history. These were men who helped shape the industry. Their WrestleMania moments were not about physical ability, they were about acknowledgement. 9. Fabulous Moolah, a historic and controversial presence. Fabulous Moolah's WrestleMania appearance remains one of the most talked about moments involving age in wrestling. Competing at an age far beyond what anyone expected, her involvement was brief, but symbolic. It highlighted a time when wrestling careers were built on longevity rather than spectacle. While her legacy is complex and often debated, her WrestleMania moment undeniably made history. 10. Mae Young, toughness, humor, and respect. Mae Young's WrestleMania appearance was short, lighthearted, and deeply respectful. Known for her toughness and fearless spirit, Mae represented a generation of wrestlers who paved the way long before WrestleMania existed. The crowd response was affectionate. This was not about competition, it was about appreciation. Mae Young stood as a reminder that wrestling history did not begin with television. It was built over decades of sacrifice. 11. Ricky Steamboat, proof that care extends careers. Ricky Steamboat's later WrestleMania match was a masterclass in discipline and pacing. Known for taking care of his body, Steamboat showed that longevity is possible when respect for the craft comes first. His performance was smooth, controlled, timeless. It felt like watching wrestling the way it was meant to be. Why these moments matter. Halfway through this journey, one question becomes impossible to ignore. Why do these moments resonate so deeply? It is not just about age, it's about defying the quiet expectation to disappear. WrestleMania does not offer mercy. The stage is massive, the scrutiny intense. Choosing to compete there later in life is an act of courage. It means accepting that you are no longer who you once were and stepping forward anyway. That is powerful. The emotional weight of time. As these wrestlers walked to the ring, decades of memories followed them. Parents who once watched them as children now watched alongside their own kids. Cheers from different generations blended together. WrestleMania became more than an event. It became a shared timeline. Final thoughts. In a world obsessed with youth, WrestleMania offered something rare. It showed that experience matters, that stories deepen with time, that connection grows stronger, not weaker, with age. The final image to remember is not a move or a match result. It is the walk to the ring. Slower steps, longer pauses, deeper breaths. And yet, when the music hits and the crowd rises, age disappears. If you enjoyed exploring this powerful side of WrestleMania history, show your support by liking this video. Subscribe for more deep dives into unforgettable wrestling stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which of these moments meant the most to you? In which legends should we remember next?